In an alternate reality, what would you be doing with your life if you weren't doing music or making films?
I'd be trying to create an alternate reality where I was creating music and making films.
So you're some kind of genie
So you're a scientist.
/ god. Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to A Creative Truth. I'm Benjamin Simons, composer, up-and-coming Twitch streamer, and a man with a very silky low voice.
And I'm Sophie Berry, aspiring author and one of Ursula's poor unfortunate souls. A Creative Truth is a podcast by creatives, for creatives and aspiring creatives and everyone in between. Each week we invite a special guest to join us and have a chat about the harsh reality of breaking into their industry.
This week, we're joined by my good friend Adam Leader. Adam is a singer, a musician turned writer and director. He's the other half of the duo that makes up Dark Fable Media and the mastermind scriptwriter and co-director for the horror film Hosts, coming out October 2nd in North America. It's a super exciting time for Adam, so let's roll the intro music and talk to him about why he writes, sings, and directs films. Adams, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm really good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, really well.
We are very excellent.
We are very wonderful.
It is a Friday after all.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Well, thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure, honestly. So the point of this is to get to know you a bit, to find out about your creative experiences, your childhood, how you found out you had a creative itch and how you chose to pursue that, and all the way through to where you are now. But to start with, we like to wind it right back to the beginning and just ask you, where did you grow up and what was it like?
I grew up in a little town called, technically Harrow. Do you know Harrow?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of Harrow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I grew up near Harrow, like I guess in a place called Stanmore, but it was all part of the same thing. And I lived there until I was, most of my life until I was like 20, and then moved to Boreham Wood, which is where I live now, which surprisingly is kind of like the heart of film and TV for the UK, which I kind of didn't really know until I moved there, which is nuts. Like from my place, you can see the BBC studios, so it's nuts. Like it's all there, and you've got all these like plaques on like the benches and stuff, and images of like Stanley Kubrick stuff. It's just weird. It's the weirdest town ever, because but I love it. I love it. I'd live there for the rest of my life, probably. It's great.
You're in the hub.
Yeah, I'm in the hub. Yeah.
So what was life like in Harrow?
Yeah, you know what? I had a cool childhood. It was good. I used to live the house I grew up in, which I've actually got tattooed on my arm, is right next to the park. So I was able to just leave the house and go to the park with my friends and this, that, and the other. I didn't have many friends when I was a kid, like growing up, but it was more, I think the most crucial point for me was, I guess, when I kind of hit the age of like 12 and I met my, I guess, soon to be best friend, Jeremy, who happened to live on the same street as me, like 6 houses up. And we had no idea that either one of us lived on the same road, but we just became best friends. And then we ended up when we were 13, we started high school together, which was literally next to the park at the bottom of the road.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, we had these 4 years of high school where it was just full of, a lot of drugs, a lot of bunking school, a lot of making films actually on this cheap ass video camera that I had, and we'd go and make films every night, and then the next day we'd bunk school and have everyone, all of our friends and our little gang of friends, come back to my house at lunchtime to premiere those films. So
what were the films about?
Oh man, okay, so I'm a huge fan of horror, right? In case you couldn't tell, but like, I they were always about this. So this character that I always used to play, and he was called Goggolis. Goggolis. And it actually comes from many years before that. I was in, I don't know, call it year 5. I was about 10 years old, and I had a friend at school, a guy called Paul, and we used to hang out together all the time. And I remember one time we're both in the toilets and we're taking a piss, right? Paul turns to me and he goes, "What do you call it?" And I'm like, "Huh?" And he's like, your dick. What's his name?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, I've got a name for mine." And I said, "Really? Okay, what's yours?" And he was like, "Googly." So I was like, "Okay, well, in that case, I'm gonna call mine Goggleless." So like, fast forward, like, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 more years, and I'm 13, 14 years old, and me and Jeremy, aka Jem, everyone calls him Jem. Me and Jem started making all these crazy horror films every night, and it was about this character that I played, this monster with, at the time, super long hair and a stupid look on his face all the time, called Goggleless. And in every, like, the concept of each film was always the same. It would always be me killing Jeremy in just in a different environment, but it would always be the same thing. Is that I always killed Jeremy, and it was so funny because eventually the more we got to know the camera, the more we figured out how you can lock it off on the tripod so that you shoot someone and then press stop and then they disappear and then you shoot it again and all of a sudden, like, oh, the Goggleless isn't there anymore. And so yeah, and then gradually we just started involving Goggleless's family, and somehow I ended up playing Mrs. Goggleless, who was his mum.
So, I mean, it sounds like you had a super creative childhood. Do you remember what your first job was?
When I was 14 or 15, I got a part-time job at this bakery up the road from where I lived in Stanmore. So my granddad, he used to drop me at the bakery at 7 p.m. every Thursday, and it was that I'd just sit there or stand there and just make bread with all these like super messy, like Scottish baker dudes that had a fag in their mouth, like, nice, whilst they needed all this dough. But I remember when I got the job, I remember the boss, it was a guy called Rob. He was like, "Okay, let me just go and speak to the head baker, and I'll let you know if you've got the job or not." And I'm sitting there like, "Oh, I hope I get it," because at the time I was a drummer and I really wanted a job so I could save up for new cymbals. Ben, you know how expensive cymbals are, right? For drums. Like, I do,
and they crack all the time.
Totally. So I'm sitting there like, oh, I really want to get the job. I want to get it. And I just overheard him talking to the head baker saying, "Yeah, he seems good. Like, why don't we give him a chance? Like, how much do you think?" So I kind of leant a bit closer to where they were to see how much they want to pay me. And the head baker was like, "Oh yeah, give him £3.50 an hour." And at the time I was like, yes! I was so excited. So yeah, that was technically my first job. First proper job.
Different times.
Yeah, decent though. So do you remember when you first realized you had like a creative itch that needed to be explored?
Scratched.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that because it's cringy, isn't it?
Well, yeah, kind of. Like, there are certain moments in life that like stick out to me as well, I guess the reason they must be important because I remember them. Mm-hmm. So there are certain moments, but I think I've always been or felt creative or the need to create, like, ever since I was a kid. Like, when I was, I don't know, like going back to when I was maybe 6 years old or something, I would constantly, and just going back to my grandparents, like they've been coming around every Thursday after school, like my entire life until, bless them, till my grandmother got sick. But so I would put on like plays for them, like every Thursday. I would act out these elaborate plays, which is basically me, trying to get rid of all the shit I was going through because I was bullied a lot. So it would always be about someone getting bullied, but then taking back that strength and kicking the bullies' asses and stuff. Yeah. So like, but I'd put on these crazy plays for them. I'd be really I was into horror from a young age. Thanks to my parents for being into it and introducing it to me. And I loved magic as well. Like, I'd always be trying to make new tricks or getting magic sets and whatnot. So I was constantly creating, and there were times where Do you remember when Steps did their version of Tragedy?
Yeah, absolute banger.
Yeah, right. So I remember when that came out, and forgive me, I don't know when it was, but it was crazy long ago, and I remember singing it to like me and my older sister Rachel. We were, I don't know, in her bedroom or whatever, or somewhere in the house, and the song was on, and I remember just singing it and being able to. Obviously, I was just a kid, but being able to hit those notes and stuff, and somehow I was able to kind of control my voice and stuff. And she was like, "Holy shit! Like that sounded all right." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I should be a singer then." I don't know, and I think it was maybe that really inspired me to really to get into music. Like I remember my grandmother bought me a guitar on one of my birthdays, just like one of those mini acoustic guitar things,
Yeah.
and I used to just pretend to be a rock star with it, and and sing and headbang and do all this crazy stuff. And yeah, I think I'm going off on a tangent here, but
No,
I was
it's
going to go
really
into music
interesting.
then. But
And our childhoods sound very similar, actually. Like, my parents had videos of me, like, singing Oliver Twist, like, just in the living room and stuff, and, like, all sorts of... And then my mum got me a guitar when I was really young as well. Like, obviously, I'm not a very good singer like you, but, it worked out not too bad in the end. I found my way.
I mean, it sounds like you had a wonderfully supportive family, which is always, so nice to hear. And they obviously gave you the tools to kind of explore the areas of your creativity. But what was your first kind of solid material step to satisfying the creative itch that you had?
I think when it got serious for me was when Jem goes to me, "Have you heard of a band called Pantera?" And I was like, "Nah, who are they?" And he goes, "Oh, dude, my brother listens to them. They're just the greatest." So I remember, and I was about 12 years old at the time, and I remember going to like the record shop or the CD shop or whatever, like down the road from me that weekend after he told me about them. And I went to the P section and I found Pantera, and the only album of theirs that they had was Vulgar Display of Power, right? So I picked it up and I bought it. Came home, stuck it in my CD player, and just fell in love. Like straight away, just fell in love. And I sat there and just listened to the whole album through, and just thinking to myself, shit, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I want to play music. I want to do that. As soon as I started high school, and obviously having known Jeremy now, the two of us started a band and had this band all through school, and we go and practice every week, and then we try and get any gigs we could, like on the weekends, or sometimes we would get a gig on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and we'd bunk school before it, and we'd try and do the whole rock star thing and go out during the day and get drunk and then head to the show. And it was great. But at the same time, I was always into filmmaking as well, because we were making our stupid, horror films at night, as well as being in the band, or I'd be trying to make and fail at doing it, but music videos or whatever it was, and recreating, I don't know if you've seen them, Ben, but recreating the Pantera home videos. Have you seen them?
I've not seen them, dude.
Oh, dude, you've got to watch them.
Yeah, I need to.
They're so good. But yeah, so I guess it was around that time when I just became serious about where I wanted to end up and stay for the rest of my life. Was then, it was Pantera. They unlocked the door for me.
You suddenly had a vision for what you wanted. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the band that you started, is it In Search of Sun, or was it a different band?
Originally, we were called Driven, and that was technically started the band in 2010. We released an EP under the name Driven, but then as we got a bit older and matured, so did the music. It kind of went in a different direction, and by this point we'd written our debut album, which is called The World Is Yours, and we just thought we should probably change our name. Driven. We're not exactly like, we're still a metal band, but we're not that metal to be called Driven and all that. Cheesy ass.
You were diversifying. Yeah.
I think it was Dave actually that suggested, why don't we call the band In Search of Sun? Because on that first album that we were getting ready to release, there's a song on it called In Search of Sun, which, funnily enough, lyrically kind of sums up who we are and where we want to be, and the determination that we as individuals have to do what we love doing, and that is playing music and whatnot. So I was kind of like, yeah, let's do it. And then the other boys were on board as well. So we changed the name to In Search of Sun. And yeah, that's what happened. And we're still here today, writing music, getting ready to release a bunch of new songs next year. So there's still a bit of a wait, but I don't mind.
One of them is the track written exclusively for the end of the film Hosts, right?
Yeah, the music video to the I guess the title track of the film, which is called Hosts, comes out on October the 9th. So yeah, anyone listening, go check the video out. It's on the In Search of Sun YouTube channel, and it's going to be available across all music streaming platforms as well. So check that shit out, man.
Fantastic. Awesome. So how have you found managing the balance between pursuing your creative goals while obviously trying to maintain a day job?
Well, I think very soon I'm probably going to have a stroke. But
not well.
I'm not feeling my best.
It's really hard. It is really hard, but at the same time, I've almost found, I don't know if it's the right way of putting it, but I've almost found peace with it. I know what I need to do, I know what I want to do, and I know where I want to end up. So me having a 9 to 5 and finding literally any time in between that, whether it's 30 seconds between packing an order or an hour on lunch or my whole night afterwards until stupid o'clock in the morning, doing whatever needs to be done to help push Hosts or help push the band, it needs to be done, so having that end goal in mind makes, I guess, the sleepless nights and the busyness of everything easier to kind of cope with.
And it will feel so satisfying as well when you reach that point where you can hand in your notice and be like, I've grinded this so hard and now I get to actually do this.
Live it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And the great thing about it as well is that, and like this was the first, I've been there for 2 years now, and this was the first job that I went into just honest and just saying, no, this is not a career that I want. This is, this is what I do. This is where I want to be. And this is where I want to end up. And I think my boss, Nick, who is one of the loveliest guys I know, I think he really respected that. And he's so incredibly supportive of that. And to have that just from being honest and just saying, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, then find someone else. Like, I just think he really respects that, and he's really supportive. So that makes it easier, just knowing that there's no elephant in the room or I have to hide anything,
Yeah.
Ben mentioned in your intro that this is a super exciting time for you, and we know that the release of Hosts is just around the corner. So tell us about where you got the idea for the film, the writing process, and the responsibilities you took on as co-director.
Me and Rich met each other in 2014, and then fast forward a few years, and we hit it off straight away and became best friends, and we love each other to smithereens. But we got to a point where the two of us were like, man, we really want to write a film, so let's write something, let's do it. So we wrote our first film, which is called Dirge, together, and we also had Nadia Lamine, who plays Lauren in Hosts. The three of us wrote Dirge together, and we realized that being nobodies in this industry, that no one's gonna throw, no matter how capable we are of making a film, no one's gonna throw a lot of money, if any money at all, at us when there's nothing to actually show them that we've done previously to prove that we can do it. You need proof of that. So it got to a point where we thought, let's write a low budget film, something that doesn't require a shit ton of money. And we've got the knowledge, we've got a lot of the equipment, and we've got the determination and the drive to just do it and make this thing exactly what we want it to be. So we were there and we were ready to go. And I guess that the one experience that kind of was the catalyst for getting pen to paper was, I was sitting at at home with my ex, and I remember she just goes, "What was that?" And I'm like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" And she points at the window. And for those who haven't seen Host, you'll understand when you do see the film. But like, she points at the window and she goes, "Oh, I just saw this blue light in the at the bottom left of the window. In the film, it's bottom right. But yeah, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about?" She's like, "I just saw this weird orb." Like, I'm like, what? Okay, I'll go and check it out. So I went into the kitchen, and to be honest, I was a little bit frightened. So I grabbed a knife, as Jack in the film does, aka Neil Ward. Go and follow him, everyone.
Lad.
And I went into the garden and I sort of walk around, scope it out, and lo and behold, nothing's there, of course, and I didn't die. So yeah, I came back in, and then I just thought, you know what, this is actually this could be a really cool scene for a film, or an opener to a film. This is a cool idea. I don't know. Either way, I was inspired by it. So I called Rich, and that night we spent the whole night just kind of very roughly on a document, just storyboarding a whole bunch of scenes that we would want to happen in this film, and the general gist of this story. And once we'd done that, the next day I opened up final draft in my Mac and just spent the next 10 days writing the whole film, and did it. And by the end of it, we just had this full screenplay, to this, I don't know, 89 or 88 page screenplay that we would then further go on to keep developing, and here we are today.
How was the editing process after that? Was it lengthy, or was it equally as kind of frantic and just getting it all done? Because to me, it's such an accomplished piece of work. I mean, I've seen it with Ben, and obviously Ben's my connection, so I'm not coming at it completely in an unbiased sense, but it seems just really polished. So how did you get it from that initial work to where it is now?
We'd go through it together after that first draft, and change bits or add bits, and sometimes Rich would have ideas, sometimes I would have ideas, sometimes Neil would have ideas, and one of his ideas actually made the story. It was incorporated into the story. So it was really important for us to never like get too big for our boots, and it wasn't hard to achieve that, because we're not arrogant people, in my opinion. We're just open to criticism and stuff, and because of that, we were able to actually write something that or have something by the end that was good, because two heads are better than one.
True. And I think when you breed in an environment with a team of people where sort of no idea is necessarily a bad idea, it's easy for people to throw an idea out and then for it to be like, I'm not sure about that. But maybe one of them is like Neil did, was like, actually, that's really cool. Like, and it's that kind of environment where obviously Neil's not in it for a writing credit. He just wants the film to be the best it can be. And that's what all of our jobs are, is to make whatever we're working on collaboratively to be the best it can be.
Totally. And you know what? I honestly don't think it, like, I think it's very rare that something like that will ever happen again. Like the fact that all of us were so like just as hungry and passionate as each other about Hosts made it what it was. Like, there's no, like, I know you're on the same page as well, Ben. Like, there's no like, oh, hierarchy, so I'm here, so I don't have to do that, or just because you're a runner means that you don't get to have your say. Like, no, everyone was on the same pay, everyone was on the same level, and everyone got their say, and that made those 2 weeks of shooting the film so, like, this sounds cheesy as fuck, but magical. It was just pure magic,
and personal for us as well, for everyone involved.
Yeah, and incredibly personal, and that's, I guess, ultimately what got the attention of the industry.
Yeah, so obviously you guys co-directed the film. So what was your sort of role as one half of the team that was directing the film?
Well, me and Rich kind of set out in the beginning that his main focus as a director was, I guess, working on stuff behind camera. So not only setting up the shots, because he was also the DOP, because he's a total badass, but like blocking and focusing on how to frame stuff. Whereas my role was working closely with the actors and making sure that they were sure and had an understanding of how we wanted them to, I guess, portray our vision. And that balance between Rich and I really worked. I mean, there were times on the lead up to the film where we'd sit down and say, look, we might clash and we're going to need a code word to well, honestly, we did, man. Like the code word was dinner plates.
Dinner plates.
And like, if ever we started clashing or arguing about something on set, we would one of us would have to say dinner plates, and then we'd go off, we'd go outside, we'd talk it out, or fight it out, which would never happen with me and him, but talk it out and then come back in. But that never happened once. It just worked, and yeah, me and him we just worked so well together, and I love the guy to bits, innit?
Oh, of course you do. You guys are awesome.
So, more broadly, what is it that you love about what you do?
I think it's just being able to tell stories, but also get something in me that's troubling me, or that I feel strongly about out onto paper and then onto screen. And there's a lot of stuff in Hosts that really comes from a really personal place for me, and it goes the same way with music. It's almost therapy for me.
In an alternate reality, what would you be doing with your life if you weren't doing music or making films?
I'd be trying to create an alternate reality where I was creating music and making film.
So you're some kind of genie,
so you're a scientist.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, basically that's pretty much I'd probably be some sort of, I don't know, astrologist or spaceman trying to find a parallel universe or black hole somewhere where I could just come back to this world.
It's gonna pop into a black hole, see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
What is your definition of a successful life?
Happiness, and that does not come from money. And it's so for me, like a success, I feel like I'm already successful. And even though I have a day job still, that to me, that's not like, oh, okay, just because I'm getting paid to do something I love, like that's not me thinking, well, that's when I'm successful. Like, I feel like I'm successful now because I've achieved everything I've wanted to achieve. Like I've been in a band. I'm still in a band. It's something I always wanted to do. I've played some of the greatest gigs of my life that I've always dreamed of playing, and I've just made a film that's coming out across the whole world. So like. To me, that is success in itself. When you're talking about career-wise, it doesn't, money or having a day job on the side doesn't determine that success for me. I feel like I'm already there. And in terms of a personal level, for me, like the last year, I have never felt better. I've got amazing friends, amazing girlfriend who is my best friend, and amazing family around me. What more could anyone ask for? That is success.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, last question for you, bud. If you could pick a moment in your past, maybe your childhood, what advice would you want to give yourself if you could whisper it in your ear?
Don't worry, it's okay, and everything's going to be fine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect end.
That is plenty. All right, so this is the part of the podcast, right, where the floor is entirely yours. We want to know what you're working on, your socials, and basically anything else that you want to tell the world about. Plug yourself. Plug it real good.
Our debut feature film, Hosts, is coming out in North America and Canada on October the 2nd. Also, it's going to be coming out in the UK sometime in January, so look out for that, and then the rest of the world to follow. My band, In Search of Sun, are releasing the title track to Hosts, which comes out on the 9th of October. Look out for the music video on the In Search of Sun YouTube channel, and you can listen to it across all streaming platforms as well, Spotify, iTunes, the lot. If you want to follow us, hit us up on Facebook. It's /In Search of Sun Music. Instagram, just @In Search of Sun. If you want to follow Hosts, it's Facebook /Hosts Movie, Instagram Hosts_movie, Twitter @Hosts Movie. Dark Fable Media. So at Dark Fable Media on Instagram, Dark Fable Media on Facebook. Like, just follow the lot because we're always doing something.
And make sure you check out Dark Fable Media on YouTube as well for very ridiculous videos, in which one of them, Adam, is actually a wizard to get to fulfill his childhood dream.
Yes, indeed.
Adam, it has been so cool to have you with us today. I feel like we've been on quite a journey, and it's been super cool to ride the wave with you, my friend.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much, buddy.
You know what? Thank you so much for getting me on. I really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you to both of you.
All right, buddy. We'll chat to you in a bit.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye. If you'd like to find out more about us, you can find us on Twitter at A Creative Truth or on Instagram at A Creative Truth Podcast. We'd love to read any feedback you have. So if you have a moment, leave a review. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, please tell your buds. We'd also love to hear your thoughts about who you'd like to hear from in future. See you next time.